Hi there everybody. If you watched my last video on art making, you'll know who I am, but if you don't, I'll give a quick introduction. My name is Sasha. I work for Off the Record as a youth mental health practitioner, and I'm also an art therapist. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am going to show you my second video in a series of videos where I'm sharing 10-minute introductions into how to play and experiment and have fun with art making and drawing. This is the second one, and this one is going to focus on using collage and using quick drawing to create some interesting imagery. Let's get started. I hope you enjoy it. So for this week's art video, we are experimenting with collage and quick drawing, and here's what you're going to need to join in. So there are a few essentials you need. You're going to need some paper. This can be in any size or quality that you've got. You are going to need some scissors and some glue. The glue can be Pritt Stick or PVA, or any glue that's available. And the nice thing about this video is, or collage, is that you can use any materials that make a mark. So like if you can use any kind of paint, any kind of pens. If the only thing you've got is a biro, you can also just use biro, because we're going to be playing with mark making and there's loads of different marks you can make with just a simple biro. Pencils, anything you've got lying around that will make a mark on paper is going to be fine. If you have got a variety of colours, in whatever material you have, that might be useful, and I'll explain why in the next few slides. But if you've only got a pen, then it's possible to do it in black and white. There's a few extras that you could add in if you've got it. Any materials lying around the house that you could collage with would be fine. I found this sort of sparkly tape, so I can add that into my collage if I want to. If you've got masking tape, I can show you how to use that later, and paintbrushes might be helpful if you're painting, but you can always just smush paint around the page with your fingers. It's not an essential item. Yeah, so that is what you're going to need for this particular video. So one of the challenges in getting into art and experimenting and playing with drawing, especially if you don't do much of that at the moment, is thinking, what on earth should I draw in collage? Where am I going to start? I don't know what kind of things to draw. And I think it's important to remember that your art is often an expression of who you are, so it can really help to draw and experiment and play with imagery that is meaningful to you, because you're naturally interested in that. So I've given a few pointers here which might help you pick something to draw that is meaningful to you, and therefore your art is also going to be more meaningful to you and you're going to enjoy it more. So one thing you could do is go and look around the house and find a meaningful object. Find something that might create a happy memory, or find something that is special to you for one reason or another, and then you can draw that from life. The other thing you could do is to draw a significant memory. It might be helpful to use a photograph if you have one, unless you're really confident in drawing from your imagination. If you're not used to making much art, it might be better to start off with a photograph. So this photograph could be of a significant memory. It might be nice in this time if you're struggling to pick a happy memory or a time that you felt happy, because that I know that when I've been looking through old photographs, that's brought me some happiness, and when I felt that I'm missing my friends or my family and that kind of thing. So it might be nice to pick a photograph that you look at that reminds you of a good time. Same applies, but from perhaps a photograph of one of your favourite places, somewhere that you feel safe, somewhere that you feel happy. Or you could choose to draw or collage a favourite book, your favourite music. You'd have to look up maybe perhaps some imagery that the artist you follow uses. Film, it could be a clip of your film. You could look that up on the internet, or you could draw sort of the advertising for the film, or a favourite TV programme as well. So you could have a search online for some imagery around some of these sort of things and use that as your inspiration. Okay. For my example of quick drawing and collaging, I'm going to take inspiration from objects that are meaningful to me. I've chosen to draw / collage these books because I've been doing a lot of reading during the lockdown, and that's been something that's been getting me through through lockdown, and I've also chosen to draw and collage some objects that are meaningful to me. These have been gifts from people, or objects that I've picked up on trips out that I associate with happy memories. So this is what I'm going to take inspiration from for this week's art tutorial. Don't forget you can also use a photograph though if you'd rather do that. So the next step is to make some marks on paper with the art materials you've got available, and the reason I said it might be good, if possible, if you've got a variety of colours, is that it might look quite interesting if you were to make marks with the colours that are the same or similar to the object that you're taking inspiration from. So I'm going to, I've chosen to use pens for this activity, and I've chosen the colours that are in my objects. So I can mainly see that there's black in here and red and a little bit of green and a little bit of blue. So I'm mainly going to make marks with the reds and the greens, and I am going to use the biro as well. And now I'll go on to quickly show you what I mean when I say make different kind of marks, but I'll mainly show you through time lapse because it is quite time consuming building up layers of different marks on paper. So this is what I mean when I say make lots of different marks. What I've done is I've got a piece of paper, I've folded it in half and then I've folded it in 2/3, so I've now got 6 blocks to work within. I've got some pens ready and I'm going to fill in each block in completely different ways. So for example, the first one I am just going to fill with lots of squiggly lines like this. The second one I'm going to spend some time making marks like so, and you can just make as many different marks as you possibly can. I'll go back and finish that later. What should I do for this one? So for this one we could do lots and lots of tiny triangles, something like that. I can also use my biro for this one, and I could kind of mix it up a bit, so I can do some really dark, close sort of cross hatching, and then do like a bit more of an open hatch like this. So the possibilities are endless really, and just fill up your squares with as many different textures and marks as you can. So I've now got some backgrounds and some marks all made in similar colours to my inspiration that I can now cut up and make into collage. I need a background. I'm not going to collage on top of a plain white piece of paper. What I am going to do is actually use one of the pieces of paper that I drew on last week. I've decided not to be particularly precious or keep this drawing, so I'm actually going to use that as the background of what I'm going to collage on. What we're going to do, this is the bit that can sometimes be really intimidating for people that don't make art a lot, is getting this down on paper. And the reason I've called this video collage and quick drawing is what we're going to do is we're actually going to draw this, but we're going to draw it really quickly. And the reason we're going to do that is because when people are given endless amounts of time to draw something, they can start to worry that it has to look really, really accurate and it looks perfect. But actually, through giving yourself a time limit to draw something, it means that you become less precious and less worried about it, and actually it can look just as interesting when it's drawn really fast. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do next. So I've got a couple of pieces of plain paper and I've got my pen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my objects, but 3 times. I'm going to draw them but only give myself 1 minute. I'm going to draw them and I'm only going to give myself 2 minutes, and then I'm going to draw them for third and final time, and I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to draw. The other thing to add is that I'm going to draw each of the objects separately rather than all together, because that's going to help me collage later on. So here's my drawings. They're quite similar actually. This is the 1 minute drawing, this is the 2 minute drawing, and then I took a lot longer and I did the 5 minute drawing. Well, I did cut it short a little bit actually. But actually all that really matters when drawing these objects is to get the outside edge, because what we're going to do now you've got the objects down, is to cut them out, stick them on top of your collage pieces, draw around them, and then cut them out. So again, I'll show you that in time lapse. Little edit, sorry, what I meant to say was don't stick them down, just place them down and draw around them, because you're going to want to take them off later. So I'm going to take a little bit of care when deciding where to cut these out. So this is the Russian doll, now in paper form, and I'm going to cut that out from this bit because there's a lot of red going on there. For the crystal, that's kind of got a lot of white in it, and it's got these sort of shapes. So I'm going to place that here across both of those. For the cat, not sure about a cat actually. There's quite a lot of white in there, so I'm going to pick a bit here that's got a bit of white in and place that. Okay. And then I'm going to draw around it all with biro and take my time deciding where to place the pieces of the books. So we're on the final stretch now. I hope this has been alright to follow. As I've gone through it, I've realised how many different steps there are actually, and there are quite a few. But basically what I've ended up with now is all the objects that I've taken inspiration from in sort of flat paper form, but with some interesting marks in the background, and I've now arranged them, or I'm going to arrange them like they are in real life. So I've placed the books on top of each other, and I'm going to place the objects where they are as well, and I'm going to glue those down now. Because the marks that I've made are quite dark, I'm going to need a nice thick dark pen to go back in and add the details in. So I've got a nice thick pen, and I'm also going to use the biro and another fine liner to add those final details, which also show you through a time lapse. Okay, so I finally finished my collage / quick drawing, and I just added those final extra details back in with a thick black pen and a thin black pen, and I also added some little green details in the cat here and in this shadow down here, because I could see some green details in the objects that I was drawing. Here's a bit of comparison to the real thing. And it might be worth saying that I did this relatively quickly for the purposes of this video, but if you want to, you can spend a lot longer. You can do some really detailed background sort of marks, and you can spend a lot longer adding tiny little details into the objects that you've collaged, or you can just play around doing it quickly like I've done. There's no right or wrong, and it's important to remember that, and it's just kind of interesting to see what comes out trying it quickly and taking a bit more time and just seeing what happens, really. Please don't forget that we have our own hashtag, which is OTRCanDraw and hashtag InspirationWorks, and we would absolutely love to see what you've been up to. And I really hope that you got something out of this video again, and that you're possibly inspired to give it a go yourself. Okay, see you soon. Bye.